President William Ruto has today all but sealed the fate of 12 cabinet secretaries from his first cabinet with the nomination of new cabinet secretaries. The 12 had been hopeful of making a return to cabinet but are now assured that their time in cabinet is up. Brenda Wanga reports on the exit of nearly half of Ruto's first cabinet.
So what was certainly a nerve-wracking 2 weeks, 12 members of cabinet now know where they stand, and it is out of the cabinet. When President William Ruto announced the second half of his cabinet nominees, it became clear that the time was up for the 12 as their places were taken by either their former colleagues or members of the opposition now co-opted into government.
The Honorable James Opio Wandai, Ministry of Energy.
Cabinet reconstitution was one of the demands that the Gen Z protesters had of the president.
I've been calling them the generation of Twitter, Uber and fish fingers. That's what I've been calling them, you know.
The cabinet reconstitution was one of the demands that the Gen Z protesters had of the president. One of the most vocal and visible CSs, the outgoing public service docket holder Moses Kuria, became a victim of the Gen Z protests. Former cooperative CS Simon Chelugui's lucky streak in cabinet that saw him serve for 2 consecutive terms under the Uhuru Kenyatta government and transition to Ruto's administration has now ended with Wycliffe Oparanya set to replace him. The game is over too for Ababu Namwamba, whose return to the sports docket came nearly 10 years from when he served, albeit shortly, in the late former President Mwai Kibaki's government. His spot taken by the former CS for Transport Kipchumba Murkomen.
My parents were poor. They used to struggle to provide for me.
First timer in cabinet Aisha Juma, who had a rather quiet run in the Ministry of Gender, Culture, Arts and Heritage, has also been shown the door with the nomination of her possible successor, Stella Langat. The man who's been in charge of driving the ICT agenda in the Kenya Kwanza government will not be making a comeback to cabinet after the slot was filled last week by a new nominee. He may have survived the impeachment attempt in Parliament, but there wasn't much that he could have done to escape the axe when Ruto reconstituted his cabinet. The former Meru senator joins immediate former National Treasury CS, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, who oversaw the presentation of Kenya Kwanza's 2 first budgets out in the political cold. The proposals contained in the budget to raise revenues for this financial year triggered the protests that have eventually cost him and some of his cabinet colleagues their slots in government.
Allow a discussion and conversation to take place.
Susan Nahomiche's troubled run at the helm of the health docket has also been brought to an end today with her omission from the lineup presented by the president today. Penina Malonza, formerly of tourism, and Zakaria Njeru, who served in 2 dockets, have been removed from the cabinet as quietly as their tenure in their respective dockets was. With just 2 more posts to fill in cabinet, that of the CS of EAC and SL and the Attorney General, these CSs know only too well that their chances of making a comeback are well and truly narrow to non-existent. With the exception of Simon Chelugui, 11 of the cabinet secretaries who made up the Kenya Kwanza's first government will have served for a period of 20 months before their exit. And as they leave government, Kenyans will be pondering over the impact their time in cabinet and in government was. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV, Nairobi.